Hey guys, so in this video, we're going to go over bank rules. What are they? How they are created, how to change them, how to delete them, how to prioritize them, and why we even need to prioritize them. So we're going to go over all these things about bank rules. And if you like the video, please do subscribe to the channel for future updates. Okay, let's get started now. So bank rules, what are they? Well, bank rules are a set of instructions that we give to QuickBooks Online to categorize transactions based on a certain criteria. Now, it's a huge time saver, and using this, you can categorize hundreds of transactions in a matter of minutes. So let me show you how to create rules. So let's go to bank transactions. Once you're in bank transactions, there are multiple ways of creating bank rules. So let's click on rules first. So you can click on new rule, name this rule. Okay, we're gonna name it, let's say flywheel. I'm going by the transactions that I have in my books. So let me explain you how this works. This top part of the screen is basically the conditions, the trigger that QuickBooks Online has to look for to categorize the transactions in a certain way. And then the bottom part is how it should categorize the transactions. So let's start. So flywheel is the name I'm using here, and that's the transaction I'm going to use it for. So I'm going to say apply this rule to the transactions that are money going out from all bank accounts and includes all of the following conditions. Bank text, and if the bank text contains flywheel, so I have told it to trigger the condition. Now I'm telling it how to categorize it. So transaction type is going to be expense. Category is going to be website expense. Payee is going to be flywheel. I should have that vendor. Okay, flywheel. And now if you use classes as well, I don't in my QuickBooks, but if you do, then that's going to be an option here too. You can assign the classes to expenses here too. There is an option actually to automatically confirm transaction. This rule applies to auto adding it. So if I do that, anything that comes in through my bank or credit card, and this rule applies to those transactions, I am not going to be able to see them or review them before it's added to QuickBooks. I don't like doing that. Even if I'm telling QuickBooks to apply certain rules, even if those rules are applied, I still want to be able to review them before they get added to my financial part of my QuickBooks. Okay, so I'm not doing it. Again, if you feel confident enough, you could do it. So I'll click save. Now, let's go back to our bank transaction and see how it's categorizing transactions based on those rules. Okay, right here. So this is, and it tells me actually that this rule, flywheel, is being applied to this. Okay, so now second way of adding rules is you'll go to a transaction. Let's pick this one. And let's just pick, we're going to copy the text from here. And we're going to say create a rule. So when we click create a rule, I'm going to copy paste it. Money out from any account, because tomorrow if I start paying it from a different account, I don't want to have to go back and amend the rules. I'm telling QuickBooks to use all bank accounts. Doesn't matter which account it comes out from, the rule should be applied to that. Okay, and the bank text contains Google. Then it should be an expense. It should be a software expense, and payee should be Google. Okay, I don't have that. Let's add it. Okay, that's it. And done. And then I save it. Okay, perfect. So now this rule is being applied. Click here. You'll see Google is being, yep, the vendor is Google and it's software expense. Okay, done with that. Now let's see. Sometimes you might have to split the transaction into multiple categories or accounts. And if that happens, you can create a rule for that as well. And perfect example would be, maybe there is an expense that is coming out of your business bank or credit card account that is half for business, half for personal use. Let's see how to create a rule for that. So I'm going to take this as an example. Okay, I'll click on create a rule. This is Weed software. Money out from any bank account or credit cards. Bank text contains weed. Then this is how it should categorize it. Expense. I'm going to click on add a split. Now I want to put a percentage. You can do the amounts as well. If you know the amounts are same every time, you could do amounts as well. But I want to do percentage. So my percentage is going to be 50% is going to go into software expense. And 50 is going to be owner's draw. So now next time, if QuickBooks sees this criteria, it's going to categorize the transaction as 50% business, software expense, 50% as owner's draw. Okay, save. Okay, perfect. And now you can always click and see which rule is being applied here. Okay, so that's how we would do the split transaction rule. Okay, now we have these rules. Let's say we need to edit them. How do we edit these rules? So we'll go to rules. We pick any rule and just click on edit here. Now, editing could be for whatever reason. Maybe you want to start putting it in a different account. You can pick a different category from here. So any changes you make here are going to be applied to any future unrecorded, uncategorized transactions. Okay, it's not going to apply to any of the categorized transactions. Okay, so next change could be how the bank and credit cards send transactions to your QuickBooks. The text sometimes could change. So if that happens, your rule won't be applied. It has to be specifically flywheel. It has to be containing this exact one. So if you need to make that kind of change, just come here, change the bank text, and so your rule can be applied again. Okay, and then after making the change, we'll save it. Okay, now let's say we need to delete the rules or disable them. How do we do it? So go on any rule. Let's say this is the rule. Click here. You can disable it. If you want to activate it in future, you could do that. Click here and enable it. If you want to delete it completely, you know you're not going to be using this vendor, you're not going to be needing this rule anymore, you can delete it completely. It doesn't change the existing transactions in your QuickBooks, okay? It's only for future transactions. Now, one more thing I want to tell you, if you see this plus sign here, it means you have picked it to auto add. So if you want to change, if you do not want it to be auto added in future, you can always uncheck it and save it, and this button is going to go away. Okay, now next one is how to prioritize the rule. And why do we even need to prioritize rules? We prioritize rules because the way QuickBooks Bank rules work is whichever rule comes first is going to go by that. Let's say you have similar type of rules with like two different names, but you're saying in the first one you're saying to put it to software expense, and the other one you're saying it to put it in like office supplies or something. Is going to take whichever one is first in order. Let's see, perfect example of that. We're going to create rules here for Uber. See how it shows Uber and Uber Eats? So let's create rules for these. Now we're going to create a rule for Uber. It's going to be called Uber. Money out from any of the accounts. Bank text contains Uber. Category is going to be travel. Pay is going to be Uber. And that's it. Watch what happens. When I do Uber, even in Uber Eats, it's going to find Uber. So it's going to create a problem then. We don't want all the Ubers to go into travel only. So I'm going to create another rule for Uber Eats. So let's go to rules and create another rule. I'm going to call it Uber Eats. Money out from all accounts. Bank text contains Uber Eats. Category is going to be meals. And payee is going to be Uber Eats. Okay, I'm going to save it. Now watch how this rule comes after Uber. So what QuickBooks is going to do is QuickBooks is going to scan all these charges for Uber first. If it finds Uber, it's just going to apply that rule to everything that contains Uber. Now, that's not what we want, though. So we're going to go back to our rules and we're going to prioritize them. Okay, we're going to take this and we're going to put it on top. Okay, so now Uber Eats comes first and then comes Uber. So first, QuickBooks is going to try to find any Uber Eats right here, and it's going to apply Uber Eats rule and put it into meals. Now, second, once Uber Eats is done, now it's going to look for Uber. So this is why you need to prioritize the rules. It's super important, and it's going to make a mess. It could make a mess in your QuickBooks if you don't. So that's all about rules actually that I wanted to go over. And if you have any other questions, if you have any other suggestions, do put them in the comments, and I will be sure to answer those questions. And that's it. That's how you deal with bank rules in QuickBooks Online. Thank you and happy accounting.